The sand is already dark with another man's blood. You stand in the cool shadow of a stone tunnel, gripping your sword, your heart slamming against your ribs. Beyond the gate in front of you, 50,000 people are screaming. The sound is a physical thing, a wall of noise that you can feel in your teeth. The gate begins to rise. Light and heat and that roar come flooding in, and as you step out onto the sand of the Colosseum, you understand the strange, brutal truth of your existence. You are a slave. You own nothing, not even your own body. And yet, for the next few minutes, you will be the most famous man in Rome. Using advanced AI trained on the bones of gladiators, unearthed from their graveyards, the surviving arenas, the painted advertisements on the walls of Pompeii, and the writings of the Romans who watched them die, we have reconstructed the life of a Roman gladiator. This is not a day in the life of the elite. This is the other side of Rome, the world beneath the marble seats, where men were trained like prize animals and sold their blood for the entertainment of an empire. To understand this moment in the arena, we have to go back. How did you come to be here, standing on the sand with a weapon in your hand and death a few feet away? There are several roads, and almost none of them are good. Perhaps you were a soldier from a conquered tribe, captured in one of Rome's endless wars and dragged back in chains. Perhaps you were a criminal, condemned to the arena as punishment. Perhaps you were simply a slave, bought and sold like a sack of grain and judged strong enough to fight. Or perhaps, and this is the strangest road of all, you were once a free man, a desperate, broke, free Roman who volunteered. Drowning in debt or hungry for glory, you sold yourself to a gladiator school, and to do it, you swore a terrifying oath, submitting yourself to be burned, to be bound, to be beaten, and to be killed by the sword. You willingly signed away your freedom and your body, gambling that the fame and the prize money would be worth it. That oath was so infamous that the Romans used it as a byword for total, absolute submission. Whatever road brought you, it ended at the same place, the Ludus, the gladiator school. And here is the first surprise. This is not a dungeon of misery. It is something far more calculated. You sleep in a small cell, in barracks built around a training yard, and at night you may be locked in. You have lost your freedom entirely. And yet you are fed better than most free Romans in the slums. You eat a heavy, carbohydrate-rich diet, so much barley and beans that gladiators were nicknamed the barley men. Food designed to build a thick layer of muscle and fat that protects against cuts and makes superficial wounds bleed dramatically for the crowd without crippling you. You are seen by skilled doctors. Some of the best physicians in the Roman world honed their craft patching up gladiators. Your diet is managed. Your injuries are treated. Why such care for a slave? Because you are an investment. You are expensive. Your owner, the lanista, has paid good money for you and spends more training you, and a dead gladiator earns him nothing. You are a valuable animal, and you are kept in fighting condition. Day after day, you train under a brutal instructor, hammering at a wooden post and sparring with weighted practice weapons made of wood, so that the real blade will feel light as a feather in your hand. The men around you are your rivals and your brothers at once, a strange fellowship of the condemned, men from every corner of the empire who eat together, bleed together, and know that one day they may face each other on the sand. Because you are not just a fighter, you are a type. Gladiatorial combat is not a chaotic brawl. It is a carefully designed spectacle, almost like a deadly game of matched opposites, each fighter trained in a specific style with specific armour and weapons. One man fights heavily armoured, with a large shield, a short stabbing sword, and a helmet crowned with a fish-like crest. Another fights as the netman, lightly armoured and unhelmeted, wielding a three-pronged trident and a weighted net, relying on speed and reach to trap and stab his slower opponent. A third wears a smooth, rounded helmet with tiny eye holes, designed specifically to protect him from that net and trident as he chases the netman down. The matchups are engineered for drama, speed against power, net against shield, reach against armour. The crowd knows every style intimately, the way modern fans know their teams, and they roar for their favourites. You are a performer as much as a killer, and the better the show you give, the more valuable and the more beloved you become. And then comes the night before the games, and one of the eeriest customs of all. On the eve of a great spectacle, the gladiators are given a lavish public banquet, the free meal. But this is no private feast. The public is invited to come and watch. Crowds of Romans wander among the fighters, staring at the men who will bleed for them tomorrow, picking their favourites, placing their bets, gawking at faces that may be dead within a day. The reactions of the gladiators are studied like omens. Some men gorge themselves recklessly, laughing and drinking, determined to enjoy what might be their last good meal. Others cannot eat at all, and instead use the evening to arrange their affairs, to send messages to loved ones, to make arrangements for their burial, to sit in grim silence with the knowledge of what tomorrow holds. Imagine eating your dinner while strangers point at you and wager on whether you will be alive at sunset. That is the life of a gladiator. The morning of the games arrives. The spectacle is paid for by a wealthy sponsor, often a politician or the emperor himself, who uses the games to buy the love of the people. The bloodier and more lavish, the better. And the day has a structure, a grim program. In the morning come the beast hunts, exotic animals dragged from the far corners of the empire. Lions, bears, leopards, even elephants, hunted and slaughtered in the arena. At midday, in the lull when many spectators leave to eat, come the executions, condemned criminals put to death in the arena, the lowest and most wretched fate of all. And then, in the afternoon, comes the main event, the prestige of the entire day, the gladiators, you. You enter first in a grand procession, parading across the sand in your finest gear so the crowd can see you, can choose their champions, can begin to scream your name. Your weapons are inspected to prove they are genuinely sharp and deadly. And then the fighting begins, pair by pair. You wait in the tunnel, listening to the roar rise and fall, knowing your turn is coming. And now we are back where we began, on the sand, in the open, in the deafening light. But understand this, the fight is not the wild slaughter of films. It is a skilled, refereed contest. Trained officials stand in the arena with long staffs, enforcing rules, separating fighters, stopping the action when they must, almost like the referees of a modern sport. You and your opponent are both highly trained professionals, and you circle, feint, strike, and parry, every movement honed by years of practice, the crowd erupting at each clash of steel. Your true opponent is not just the man across from you, it is the crowd itself, 50,000 people whose love or contempt may decide whether you live or die. And then it happens. A blow lands. You are wounded, disarmed, driven to the ground, unable to continue. You raise a single finger into the air, the gesture of a beaten gladiator appealing for mercy. The fight stops. Now, your fate hangs in the hands of the sponsor, swayed by the will of the screaming crowd. If you fought bravely, if you gave them a magnificent show, the crowd may bellow for mercy, and you will be spared, allowed to live and fight another day. If you fought like a coward, if you bored them or shamed yourself, they may demand your death, and the sponsor will give the signal, and you must kneel and accept the final blow with dignity. For to die well is the last honor a gladiator can claim. But here is the great myth we must shatter. Death was not the usual outcome. You were far too expensive to kill casually. Training a gladiator took years and cost a fortune, and a sponsor who demanded the death of a defeated fighter often had to pay the owner a heavy price for the loss. So most matches did not end in death at all. A skilled, popular gladiator might fight many, many times over a career and survive everyone. The greatest champions became legends, fighting for years, racking up dozens of victories. When a fighter was killed, his body was dragged out through a special gate, and a man dressed as a god of the underworld would strike the corpse with a hammer to confirm that death had truly come. Death was always in the room, always possible, but it was the spice of the spectacle, not its certain end. So why would anyone choose this life? Because of what waits on the other side of survival. A victorious gladiator wins prize money, real money he may keep, and a palm branch of victory held high before the adoring crowd. And the fame is intoxicating. The greatest gladiators are the celebrities of their age, their names scrawled across the walls of the city in graffiti, their faces painted on advertisements, their images sold on little clay lamps and figurines. They are sex symbols, openly desired, with graffiti boasting of one fighter as the heartthrob of the girls and another as the man who makes the young women sigh. It is whispered that even wealthy, respectable Roman women take gladiators as secret lovers, drawn to these dangerous, muscled men of the sand. The very sweat and blood of a gladiator were collected and sold as good luck charms and medicines. You are the lowest of the low, a slave with no rights at all, and at the very same moment, you are adored by an entire city. There is no stranger status in all of Rome. And there is one prize greater than all the rest, the dream that keeps you swinging your sword. A gladiator who fights with such skill and courage that he becomes a true legend may be awarded the Rudis, a simple wooden sword. It looks like nothing, but it is the most precious object in your world, for it is the symbol of your freedom. To be given the wooden sword is to be released from the arena forever, to walk out a free man, your slavery ended, your life your own at last. Some champions earned it and walked away. Others, drunk on glory, were offered their freedom and refused it, choosing to fight on until the sand finally claimed them. For most gladiators, though, the story ends not with a wooden sword, but with an early grave. Many die young, in their 20s, their bodies broken on the sand of an arena while strangers cheer. But even in death, they are not always forgotten. Gladiators banded together in burial societies, paying small dues so that when one of them fell, the others would ensure he received a proper funeral and a tombstone. And so, scattered across the old Roman world, we still find their gravestones, carved with their fighting names, recording their victories, their draws, the number of times they fought, sometimes raised by a grieving wife or a brother of the sand. These stones are the strange immortality of the gladiator, the conquered slave, the condemned man, the desperate volunteer, remembered by name in stone when the names of the free poor who watched him have vanished completely from history. The city that owned you, that could kill you on a whim, also wept for you, screamed for you, and carved your name to last 2,000 years. That was the life of a Roman gladiator. A life lived in the impossible space between slavery and stardom, where a man with no rights at all could become the idol of an empire, where death was a daily companion and freedom a wooden sword away. High above, in the marble seats, sat the senators and the emperor and the glittering elite of Rome, the men who owned the world. But every eye in that vast arena, rich and poor, slave and free, was fixed on you, the man on the sand, fighting for your life. The Colosseum still stands, half ruined, its sand long gone, its roar fallen silent. But it remains the eternal monument to a brutal truth of Rome, that the people who owned everything could not look away from the men who had nothing, except the courage to face death in front of 50,000 screaming souls. History remembers the emperors in the marble seats, but the crowd came for the men on the sand. This video is brought to you by the Paladin Learn History app. Scan the QR code to learn more history.